Hey everyone, welcome back to TK's Tech Talk. In this video, I'm going to be describing my impressions, and these are only my impressions, of the upcoming Z Fold 3, which is due to land next year, maybe Q2 or Q3 2021. And it's just my idea that I've made. It's got nothing to do with actual specifications or releases of the screen sizes. It's just something that I've thought about based on the rumors on multiple websites you may already have seen, revolving around a 4-inch external display and a 7-inch internal display. So I'll talk about these dimensions in a moment. And first, I just want to focus on what I've seen on the web around the upcoming Z Fold 3. So I've just done a search in Google for Z Fold 3, and we've got some top stories here which talk about the Z Fold 3, the Z Flip 2, and also the Z Fold Lite. What we're going to be concentrating on, obviously, is Z Fold 3. So immediately at the bottom here, I've highlighted some text which talks about some potential dimensions for the Z Fold 3. It says the Z Fold 3 is also said to come with a 7-inch internal screen and a 4-inch external display. I'm not sure exactly where this rumor came from, but this is listed on Tom's Guide and also in XDA Developers, Gear, The Verge, and many other big tech websites that you will see if you search for Z Fold 3 screen dimensions or something like that. So based on this 7-inch internal display and 4-inch external display, I know that we can go back to the original Fold, which had a 4.6-inch external display, I believe it was, in the middle of the phone. And then it had a 7.4-inch or something in that range for the internal display. That was then later increased to 6.2 inches for a full screen front display and also a bigger 7.6-inch internal display. So if we go with these new dimensions that we're seeing, it's possible that we might get a slightly smaller phone compared to the Z Fold 2 with a screen like the original Z Fold on the outside, which will be smaller, maybe positioned at the bottom or something like that for a better one-handed experience. And maybe it will be a bit wider to accommodate, the lack of real estate we had on the screen initially. But I've come up with this picture, which you've already seen now, and it's also on my Twitter page. Feel free to check that out. But what I feel about this design is if we have a shorter phone, so roughly 3.5 inches by 2.8 inches, these are screen dimensions, not physical device dimensions, which will then result in a 4.5-inch diagonal. So I'm just going with the assumption that it's around 4 inches. It's not necessarily exactly 4 inches. So once we unfold this shorter and slightly wider display, we get a massive 7-inch or 7.1-inch screen with a 6.2-inch width and a 3.5-inch height. Now this can work in many ways, because if you have a small 4.5-inch front screen, you essentially get an experience similar to that of the iPhone 12 mini. Once you open it up, you've got a nice big 7-inch screen, which gives you an experience similar to that of a Galaxy Note, which again is still bigger than the Galaxy Note. And why I've said 16 by 9, these dimensions are not to scale by any means. I'm not an artist. I'm not a designer. It's just my opinion and my view of what could possibly happen with the future Fold. And why I think this will be good is because the front screen is smaller. It allows you to navigate with one hand much easier. It gives a better grip overall of the phone when you're using it with one hand. And maybe a slightly more compact phone will make you feel more comfortable holding it and not being worried about dropping it, things like that. And once we open it up, we get this massive 7-inch display, which will be obviously wider, but that's exactly what we get when we hold the Z Fold 2 in a landscape mode as opposed to a portrait mode. However, though this diagram doesn't really depict it properly, it will be wider. So even though it's wider, some of the problems it will solve is things like multiple apps on the screen at the same time. So if we're going to transition from the external screen to the internal screen, and if we could have an option where it will actually put whatever's on the front of the screen onto half of your screen, you can easily put something else on the other half, and you will get a much smoother transition. Because right now, what happens with the Z Fold 2, and I own a Z Fold 2, and I have these issues, when you have apps that don't scale properly, or you have apps that don't change the aspect ratio as and when required, because there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for that to work properly, and it's all down to developers adopting this for Galaxy Fold users. So things like Microsoft Edge, if you haven't opened Microsoft Edge or Chrome and you open it on the biggest screen first, you get a tabbed view. That tabbed view will then also translate to the closed display, and it's not really a very convenient way to use it. Now, if you have a slightly wider display on the front screen, it might make that tab browsing easier and more efficient, for example. Or if it can then be programmed to transition between the small and big display to have tabbed and non-tabbed browsing, that would be a massive feature. Another thing that we've noticed and everyone knows about this is the Instagram on the Galaxy Z Fold 2. It shows you a display in the middle of the screen, and again, with this potential landscape opening, we'll have the same problem. However, if we rotate the phone into the portrait mode, and like I said, my main aim from this diagram, it doesn't really show, but it's that these dimensions are actually for a 16 by 9 screen. Now, there's two benefits to this. When you use a app in portrait mode like Instagram, you'll probably get a full screen display. I'm not saying you will, but I assume that 16 by 9 is a supported aspect ratio, and you will get a nice immersive Instagram experience, more phone-like and much more true to how they expect the experience to be. And also in landscape mode, you will get a nice full 16 by 9 video. When you're playing it, a full HD video, for example, it will play in full screen and we won't have any borders. So that's another benefit to having this screen in landscape. So multitasking will be better, watching videos will be better, switch to portrait mode when you want to use apps that don't work correctly, like on the Z Fold 2, for example. Another example is my banking app. Whenever I open my banking app and I don't even go into landscape mode, it automatically opens it in landscape mode, and that's something we need to try and avoid. So if we're already in landscape mode, or which could become the new portrait, if the Fold 3 does end up being like this, then at least if it rotates, you will get a more mobile-friendly experience on a larger screen. So that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Again, take it with a pinch of pepper. I know pinch of salt is a correct term. I just think pinch of pepper can translate into pop, and it sounds a lot better. So take it with a pinch of pepper. It's just something that I think would be definitely a fix for many issues we're having now on the Z Fold 2. Even though, believe me, it's an amazing device, I don't know if I can even go back to a conventional phone after having this massive internal display whenever you want it. It's literally like having a tablet in your pocket. So even if the internal display does become a little bit smaller, if we do get that landscape 16 by 9, it would be amazing to watch videos. I have shown a camera punch out inside the internal display. However, there are rumors around there not being punch out. It will probably be an in-display selfie camera, which will be amazing if that happens. And I don't know what will happen with the external cameras. Obviously, they'll be improved on whatever we have on the Z Fold 2 for now. But like I said, I'm no mobile tech expert. I do love mobile phones and I do love technology, but I can't give you a 3D render or something like that of my impression at the moment. Maybe I'll try and make a scaled model of this picture so that you can see how wide this front screen will, the internal screen will actually be. But for now, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.